I do really love to fly. And that's one of the things I've discovered about this. I've enjoyed every minute of the project so far. And I have now not one day have I felt like it was overwhelming, even though, 90% of the days I went to the shop, I was doing something I'd never done before, and it was terrifying. But I'm pretty happy with where I am.
Mark,
Have you been flying at all while you're doing this?
Yes, I have. Actually, after I bought the plans for the Cozy, I was like, I'm not even a pilot. I ought to get my pilot's license. I ought to get my pilot's license and figure out if I actually like to fly or if I'm any good at it. So, as you're learning from this, I don't always do things in the right order, but I did get my pilot's license. It turned out I love to fly. I was halfway decent at it. I got my instrument rating. It's at the minimums. And I have always been flying. And that's actually one of the things, just from terms of economics, it's one of the things it's one of the things that delayed building the Cozy for me, because, flying's not cheap, as you know, and if you're going to fly a lot, there's not a lot of money left over to build an airplane, at least in my household. So I have always been flying. I flew in Puerto Rico. A Cessna 172 in Puerto Rico was $350 an hour.
Oh, geez.
So
that's American dollars.
That's true. And but I still flew all over the island to some of the outlying islands. So I love to fly, and I've always been flying. And right now I'm flying a Pipistrel Alpha, and I'm flying it because, even though I'm a member of the Cal Aggie Flying Farmers, and that's really where I got trained and was a member of that club for a long time. The Pipistrel is like 2 hangars over. It's a very small flying club. I think I'm the only person flying the airplane, and it's perfect. If the weather's perfect, you guys were talking about a few days ago, I just I stop whatever I'm doing in the hangar. I walk over, I get in the Pipistrel. I can tolerate maybe going to Williams and back in the Pipistrel, but hey, it's still flying.
well, Mark, thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation. And I think what I enjoy the most is you started this journey out and you didn't have failures, but you had planes you purchased to see a plane sit in the landfill, that just fascinates me. But yet it was part of the process moving it forward. And I can imagine by doing that and seeing other planes in a different state of construction, you really see the quality of what you ended up with versus what could be and what other people are building out there. And, just as we saw the initial points there, boy, that first plane was a mess. So again, you think how soon are you till you're going to get your first flight in?
Well, I'm talking to the DAR. I'm, sort of in the application process. The last system to complete for me is putting in about 250 wires. I basically work 7 days a week if I can. I've given up a lot of other things temporarily, to try to get the ball over the line here. So I'm hoping no more than 2 months. I was just thinking about it today. I really can't think of anything else. I need to pull the resin out and the hardener and the fiberglass. There's nothing left to make on the airplane. That's a good sign. And most of the systems are now in. The major systems, brakes, fuel, firewall forward is pretty much done. I've got a little bit of baffling work to finish up. And I just got to get those avionics wired. I've already made all the harnesses. Because of the work in Puerto Rico, I have a very complete wiring diagram and a wire list. So every wire in the airplane will have a number. It's fair. I don't have to think when I'm working on the airplane. All the thinking has already been done. The plan was made. So I just get in and I put my head down and I.
So I got a couple other questions for you. I noticed your diagrams. What software, what were you using to create those?
Yeah, and again, I didn't know anything about it, but I ended up selecting TurboCAD. As you can see, they're two-dimensional, and I don't know if it's the best solution out there. It worked for me. It was pretty intuitive to learn. It's not a very good 3D solution, or at least I couldn't figure out how to do that. I will say, so all my two-dimensional sort of wiring diagrams and system diagrams and antenna diagrams, I made a diagram for everything. Brakes, you name it. Any system in the airplane, I've got a nice diagram. Complete parts list. The EAA, as you know, was offering that student subscription to SolidWorks.
Yes.
So while I was in Puerto Rico, I started using SolidWorks, and I designed my male mold for my wheel pants in SolidWorks. And I actually had a NACA duct in the front of the airplane that I designed in SolidWorks, and then had it 3D printed. I thought, well, hell, try that. And so I actually had some small parts 3D printed, and I've installed them in the airplane. And I use the EAA SolidWorks subscription to do that. And it was a little painful for me to, I'm not I was running a software company, but I'm not a software guy.
Right.
And so, it was a little painful to learn SolidWorks, but once I got the knack of it, and of course you can't beat YouTube. You can learn anything you want to learn, you can learn on YouTube. And so I even did some small parts 3D printed in SolidWorks.
Well, Mark, wonderful presentation. But as we had with the VMC IMC meeting, IMC BMC, excuse me, what came out of this one is we're going to need a demonstration of how you set up your forms and your vacuum presses and everything else. When we meet in person, we're going to get you in there. That carbon fiber, very fascinating. And so we're going to tap you for that one. And then also, how do you SolidWorks? I think there's a few people, we understand it, but quick tutorial or just explaining some simple things about it is what we don't know. That's was fascinating. So anyways, does anybody else have any questions for Mark?
I was just wanted to say, I wanted to reiterate the same thing. I'd be interested in a little tutorial on vacuum bagging, making of carbon fiber parts, making the male molds, like I say, you use the SolidWorks and 3D printed. Could you use a 3D printed model as a male form for making a carbon fiber part?
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a great seminar for, in the hangar.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a little reputation at the airport. Of course, there's a lot of metal airplanes out there, but a lot of them have fiberglass cowls.
Yeah, well,
So
even my Cessna has a lot of plastic parts on it, and a number of them are cracked. And I really, really hate to go buy a $300 plastic part that fits on the bottom of the rudder.
Yeah, well, I've already helped a couple guys at the airport, with small vacuum bagging projects for items on their cowls. A small NACA duct for an oil cooler in one case, and a simple repair on another cowl. So. Yeah, I'm the fiberglass guy, and don't ask me to make, a metal, bulkhead, that's for sure. But I can make anything out of fiberglass.
Great. That's great. Thank you much.
So Mark, I had one other quick question. It might kind of seem a little naive, but since this plane is a pusher, where is the cooling come for the airplane? Where's the ducts of how does it get its cooling?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is no airplane is perfect, and the Cozy is no exception. So it has the couple sore spots that we have in this airplane. One of the big ones is engine cooling. And there is a very large, it's about 15 inches across, at the end of the NACA duct. The opening is an inch wide. It's about 30 inches long, 15 inches wide at where it enters the engine cowl. So there's a very large NACA duct on the belly of the airplane. To help keep the air attached in the NACA duct, it's very common to put two small vortex generators, maybe an inch high fence, maybe 2.5 inches long, right near the entrance of the NACA duct. The shaping in the NACA duct is very important. You know, the bottom of the NACA duct has to have a 90-degree angle, and the inside edge of the NACA duct has to have a nice curve. I have a diffuser. That's another enhancement we have in this. Just inside the cowl, so where the NACA duct dumps that high pressure air into the bottom of the cowl, because this is updraft cooling. So the NACA duct pushes all this air into the bottom of the cowl. I have the 11-degree diffuser right at the entrance into the cowl for the NACA duct to slow down that 200-mile-an-hour air and pressurize the bottom of the cowl. And then I'm a big Mike Bush follower, so you know I've watched his YouTube on baffles more than once. I'm putting great care into trying to get my baffles as airtight as possible. I am going to carry a mamometer in the airplane in phase one, and I am going to try to get the magic numbers, you know, for Lycoming is you know, something north of 6 or 7 inches of water. If you can get it as high as 8 or 9, that's great. And as you know, 8 or 9 inches of water is still only like what, a half to 3/4 of 1 psi, right? So that differential pressure in the cowl is a big deal for us, because we don't have that engine sitting out in front of the airplane. The physics of cooling in a Cozy are a big deal. So that's one of our headaches. A lot of guys on the forum talking about keeping that engine cool. And I've tried to do all the after plan enhancements that are most common: the vortex generators, the diffuser. I've oversized my plenum a little bit to try to, you know, and I have some directional encouragement inside the bottom of my cowl to get the air to go up the right way. And I'm actually experimenting right now with the intercylinder baffle material. So we have guys that are basically putting RTV on fiberglass, and I just got done doing this. It makes an amazing you know, silicone baffle material, and you can basically glue it right onto the cylinder fins.
Wow. Wow.
I actually right today I vacuum bagged up carbon fiber intercylinder baffle material. So I'm you can make them out of aluminum, but I'm not a metal guy, you know. I mean, shaping a piece of aluminum to an arc of exactly 3.1875 is not going to happen for me. But getting a piece of carbon fiber to that arc, I can do that in 10 minutes, you know. So.
Mark, you're not alone in cooling issues. I have a 61 Cessna, and the baffles when I bought the airplane were just a mess. And by attaching new silicone, and because I couldn't see very well what was happening, I actually took my digital camera and stuck it inside the upper cowl and took photos, and found out that one of the stiffeners in the upper cowl was pushing the baffling away. So once I trimmed it all out and got the baffle to seal, I lost 25 degrees on my cylinder head temps. So you're not alone. It's always an issue with every aircraft.
Mark, what groups do
the
you?
other big one for the Cozy is center of gravity. You know, we when I'm flying single pilot, I'll probably have 35 pounds of lead shot in the nose.
Oh my.
And if I take a passenger, I got to remember to take that 35 pounds and throw it in the back seat. Okay. And when we fuel the airplane, as you know, these airplanes park on their nose, and that's why, because we have a CG that's right on the leading edge of the wing, so a full fuel, if the longerons are parallel to the ground, meaning that the nose gear is fully extended, and you put full fuel in this airplane, and you're not in it, it will tip over on its prop.
Oh,
So
well, you're not alone with the CG issue. My 175 Cessna, turns out, when I actually did a accurate weight on it, if I put anybody in the front seat with me on the right side, the CG is 3 inches forward of the forward limit. So I carry 50 pounds of ballast in the baggage compartment when I'm flying solo, and even dual. If I put somebody in the back seat, I can take the ballast out, but even then it doesn't affect the CG very much. It moves it back about 2 more inches. So I literally, my airplane's 50 pounds heavier just because it's impossible to land in a high density altitude airport. I run out of elevator authority.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mark? Well, Mark, thank you again. That was an excellent presentation, and we're really excited to see that airplane in our hangar one day for one of our displays or a breakfast or something like that. I sense it's going to be pretty quick here, but I'm really excited also to, I would really like to get in with some of your forums and things. And it sounds like you have a lot to offer the Cozy community for what you're doing for upgrades and things and the stuff you're experimenting with. And I enjoy that part too, just working through issues and problems, like you said, with the cooling and things like that. With that being said, Mark, thanks again. Excellent presentation.
Yep. Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you.
else,
thanks for having me.
enjoy it. And thank you very much. And good night, everybody.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, appreciated the accounting as well. I'm kind of a numbers guy, and I was just amazed that you got almost 1,000 parts under $100.
All right, good night, guys.
Right, thank you
Take
very
care.
much.